Hello, my name is Jane White and I'm the Undergraduate Programme Director for Brewing and Distilling here at Heriot-Watt University. In this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this unique degree and what you can expect if you come to study as an undergraduate student here at Heriot-Watt. If you have any questions after watching this video, you can just drop me an email at j.white@hw.ac.uk. If you are a graduate student and you're interested in our master programs, you can also contact Calum Holmes, who's the Postgraduate Programme Director, and he will happily reply on any questions you have about the master's program. I hope there's lots of useful information for you within this video. Any questions afterwards, just contact us. Brewing and Distilling at Heriot-Watt is in the International Centre for Brewing and Distilling, which was founded exactly 30 years ago. We're based within the School of Engineering and Physical Sciences and located at the beautiful countryside location of Heriot-Watt University just outside Edinburgh. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the ICBD and our staff and also some of our facilities, and then I'm going to focus on what you can expect in the undergraduate programme. The International Centre for Brewing and Distilling was formed over 30 years ago, but the first course in brewing and distilling was actually stretched right back to 1903, and this was a programme in industrial mycology taught by Emil Vestergaard, what was then Heriot-Watt College. Now, Emil Vestergaard came over from Carlsberg, and at this point I'd usually ask students, what did they think Emil Vestergaard also brought to Scotland? And at this point, the clever students are usually able to tell me that Emil Vestergaard brought the knowledge of how to make lager, because up to this point, ale was the main thing brewed in the UK, but Emil Vestergaard, coming from Carlsberg, obviously was an expert in lager brewing. And this is key because what we find in the programme at Heriot-Watt University is that we have strong collaboration between academia and industry. So it's both a case of the programme is informed by what industry wants, and also a lot of our graduates go on to work in industry, and we have very close engagements with them following on from that. The programme itself is located, as I said, in the School of Engineering and Physical Sciences, but some of the teaching is also through the School of Energy, Geoscience, Infrastructure and Society, and that's really nice because our students are exposed to lots of different people from around campus. They get a lot of background in all the different sciences, including biology. We also assign students a personal tutor, which is a brewing and distilling academic, so they have a key member of staff that will follow them through the 4 years at Heriot-Watt. As I mentioned, students are taught by lecturers across the campus, but we also have our core brewing and distilling staff. So on the teaching side, this includes Dr. Dawn Maskell, who's the director of the ICBD. And Dawn actually was an undergraduate student in the BSc programme, and then afterwards she went off to do her PhD and worked a little bit in industry, and then came back to do more research at Heriot-Watt and also to teach within the university, and has now taken over as the director. We've got me, I am Jane White, and I am the Undergraduate Programme Director, as I mentioned already. And I teach some of the undergraduate students mainly around bioprocessing and also on the Master's Programme. We have Dr. Annie Hill, who is a microbiologist, but also does a lot of work with the craft distilling industry in Scotland. And Annie is the Programme Director for Distance Learning. So if you are interested in our distance learning programmes, I suggest you contact her for more information. We have Dr. David Jenkins, who joined us from Sam Miller and the University of Nottingham. And David's interest would mainly be in yeast fermentation and beer quality, and he teaches across both the undergraduate programmes and the master's programmes. We have Calum Holmes, who is our cereal expert, so he teaches both undergraduate and master's level. And as I mentioned already, Calum is the programme director for the master's programme, so if you're interested in the postgraduate study, you can contact him for more information. We have Matthew Pawley, who is our head distiller. And Matthew is actually another graduate from the BSc in Brewing and Distilling, and then he went off to work for many years in the gin industry, lots of big gin companies, and now he's back as our head distiller. So he runs all the distillation labs and teaches also on the distillation programs for the undergraduates and the masters. Then we have Rachel Sutherland, who's actually a graduate of our master's program, and Rachel then went off to work in mainly focusing in quality and sensory science and sensory analysis in brewing. And now she's back as our head brewer and teaches this for both the undergraduates and the master's programme. So we have got good key staff both in brewing and distilling, and students are introduced to them and also then to the wider Heriot-Watt community. We have our own core facilities, so students get a lot of hands-on practical experience throughout their degree, and this includes our 2 hectolitre brewery, our distillery, which has got a 25-litre wash still and an 18-litre spirit still. We've also got a smaller distilling lab where we can do small-scale recipe development using things like lots of gin botanicals. We have a micro-malting facility, so we can look at different types of malt, and also then a sensory suite. As well as this, we obviously use a lot of the university-wider facilities, so this would include the microbiology labs and lots of other laboratories where students can get a lot of hands-on skills as well. Before we go on to look at the undergraduate degree in more detail and program of study, I wanted to ask you the following question. And as I go through this, you can try and think of an answer of what do the following have in common. So first of all, we got Soren Sorensen, then we have William Seeley Gossett, we have James Prescott Joule, and Bass's Red Triangle. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, and you're going to figure out in your own head, what do you think they have in common? So Soren Sorensen actually gave us the pH scale. So he was the one who gave us the idea that pH is equal to minus log to the base 10 of the hydrogen ion concentration. William Seeley Gossett is a statistician and mathematician, and he gave us a student t-test. Then James Prescott Joule, I hope many people know already, obviously Joule to do with energy, so all the stuff that he did within engineering. And then we have Bass's Red Triangle. So the question for you is, what do you think they might have in common? Well, the key thing is that they were all involved in brewing. So Soren Sorensen was working at Carlsberg Lab. He was a chemistry and biologist, and he was very interested in how proteins behaved within brewing. And one way he came up to look at that was to come up with a pH scale. Then we have William Seeley Gossett. He was actually a brewer working at Guinness. He was a statistician and mathematician by background. And he was very interested, if you imagine he was growing lots of barley in fields, and he was looking then to see how that would then translate into the beer. And with such large numbers of data sets, he needed some kind of statistics to analyze that. And what he came up with was what's now known as a student t-test. It became the student t-test because the employees at Guinness were not allowed to publish in their own name at the time. That I think was probably because there was some issues with people publishing prior to that. But because they realized that his research was so important, he was allowed to publish, but he had to call it the student t-test. Then James Prescott Joule, apart from engineering, he actually came from a brewing family. And both himself and his brother inherit breweries for their father. But James Prescott Joule, obviously because he was spending most of his time doing lots of important engineering, his brewery wasn't so successful. And then we have Bass's Red Triangle, and that was actually the first trademark symbol within the UK. So you might be wondering why I'm telling you all of this, and the reason is because this kind of covers all the key areas we want to cover within brewing and distilling. So we have chemistry and biology, statistics and maths, energy and engineering, and marketing. And within our program, these are the things that we want to focus on. So we're not just teaching you how to brew and distill, even though that's extremely important. We're also teaching you the core lessons in chemistry, biology, statistics, maths, energy and engineering, and marketing. And that's going to fit into how we design our program, which I'm going to tell you a little bit now. Our program then is centered between the core skills of engineering and biology. Students are taught brewing and distilling related content and practical experience from second year onwards. Within our teaching, we're particularly focused on transferable skills. So students do a lot of practical work. So this is both within brewing and distilling and also more finer biology labs and engineering labs. We encourage students to do a lot of group projects and group report writing and then individual report writing to get those necessary writing skills for when they graduate. We do a lot of presentations. Students are exposed to different career options through our Fit for Work series, and we also send them off on lots of site visits. So it's quite an interesting degree because it's not just involved in teaching. So for example, just to show you in these pictures here, the top one is a course that we run, part of our course in second year. And this is where we have Briggs of Britain come in, and they do a workshop with the second year students on how you would design a brewery. And then the bottom picture there is some of our fourth year graduates, and they are doing a poster presentation after some recipe design development they have done on particular beers. So we like to focus on a lot of different skills, not just on a student working away on their own and writing reports. Within Heriot-Watt then, what would you expect if you come to study with us? Well, there are generally 2 semesters over the year. The first semester starts in September. It is 12 weeks, followed by exams, and then followed by a vacation period. We start back again in January for another 12 weeks of courses, and then we have a vacation period, and then we are back for exams. There are 4 courses each semester, so courses can be standalone or linked to another course. And each course would have approximately 3 to 5 teaching hours, but it really does depend on the course, because you can imagine that some of our courses are very teaching focused, some of them are going to be very lab focused, so the number of hours is going to vary depending on the course. We really try to involve a lot of industrial visits and speakers as well, that the students get very early on quite good links with the brewing and distilling industry. I'm going to tell you a little bit more detail now about our undergraduate program. So in first year, students cover a lot of the core topics in biology and also in engineering. So for example, they'll do introductory biology, which will introduce the biology topics. They'll learn some practical skills in biology, also some chemistry skills. Then we have process industries, where students are going to learn a bit of chemical engineering. And then we have a new course called Shaping Tomorrow Together. And this is a really nice course that is run across Aegis. So students will meet students from many different backgrounds. And what they look at is climate change and sustainability, and come up with some solutions for the future. And what I really like about our first year program is that our students come in with a lot of different backgrounds. Some people have studied biology, some have not, for example, and it allows students all to get those core skills in first year ready then for the rest of their life at university. In second year then, we start to see a little bit more specialization. So students look at some more biology topics. Obviously, they're going to look at plants because that is the starting process for any brewing and distilling. They'll look at cell and molecular biology and introduction to microbiology. This is where we also start to see some of the brewing and distilling lecturing starting to be introduced. So I teach bioprocess engineering for brewers and distillers. So that's teaching engineering from the point of view of brewing and distilling. Students will do a business course, management in a global context. And they're also going to start to get some industrial practice for brewing and distilling. So this is one of the first times they're going to start to get to work in the lab and start to look at brewing and distilling in more detail. In third year then, students are exposed to even more brewing and distilling lectures. So they start to look at concepts in beverage science. Their research studies then is always based around brewing and distilling. I teach a course on bioprocessing, and this is across all of the biotechnology industries. They'll learn a little bit more about food microbiology, and also on advanced industrial practice. And this is where they start to look at more brewing and distilling in practice. What's really nice about third year is at this stage, students can decide if they think they are more biology focused or more engineering focused. If they're more biology focused, they can choose to study molecular biology and biotechnology. If they're more engineering focused, they can study business awareness, safety, sustainability, and process design, which is some of our chemical engineering courses. So third year is really nice because you really start to emphasize where the core science fits into brewing and distilling, but they also get to focus if they are more interested in biology or in engineering at this stage too. In fourth year then, students pull together all the knowledge that they have gained for the previous 3 years and begin to really focus on brewing and distilling. So they will start to look at everything from cereal grains all the way through to the final packaging. They'll also get some more practical experience, so both in qualitative and analytical skills. So that will be in production all the way through to sensory analysis. In fourth year, students also do their honours research project, so that is where they will focus on a piece of research, independent research that they will conduct themselves. And that's a really nice part for the students because they really get to develop their own research and innovative skills at this stage too. So that's our undergraduate program and what it looks like. If you have any questions about any of the courses or worried about any of that, you can contact me, no problem, and I'll get back to you. Probably sounded like a lot of teaching, but we don't just focus on students sitting in lectures and learning. We also learn through our brewing and distilling practical experience. And one nice thing that we do within brewing and distilling is we also run what's known as the ICBD Futures events. And this is where we'll have experts from industry coming in. A lot of them are actually graduates from ICBD, and they will talk about their career progression within the industry and also where they see the future of the industry to be. We obviously organise a lot of industrial visits, and one thing Rachel does is really nice is she organises the brew club, and these are additional sessions where students can come and join. So students from first year all the way through to the master's program can sign up to come in and get some additional experience and meet some of their fellow students to practice making different types of brews. Obviously, there's non-academic activities outside of that, so we encourage our students to join societies. In particular, the students run their own brewing society and whiskey society, and this year they've been organising some really interesting talks, and it's really exciting to see what they've been doing. So 2 weeks ago, they had somebody coming in from Brewdog. They actually had Martin Dickey, who's the founder of Brewdog, who was also a Heriot-Watt graduate, who came in to talk about how he went about setting up his company and everything he learned along the way. So there's lots of different activities for students to join in. In ICBD then, we're not just focused on teaching, we also do a lot of research within brewing and distilling. And this means that our teaching is founded on the innovations that are occurring within the industry and also up to date. So this slide is just showing you an example of some of the research that we do. And it stretches right from looking at specialized malts for whiskey production, so this is something that Rutella is involved in, all the way through to gin production and looking at the microbiology of fermentations. You might see here we've also got Matthew Pauly, who I mentioned already is our head distiller. Matthew is also doing his PhD on gin. So we do a lot of research, which means that our teaching is also informed by the research that we do. If you're interested in our undergraduate program then and want to know more about the entry requirements, these are listed here. So you can have entry into first year or direct entry into second year or even on the third year, depending on your background. We often find with brewing and distilling, students come from quite different backgrounds. So if you are interested in studying with us and you don't see what you have completely listed here, you can contact Study With Us and they will tell you about all the different entry requirements in more detail. We also have some scholarships for our undergraduate program. So if you are female and you're interested in working with us, Diageo has a STEM scholarship to sponsor students on our undergraduate program. And we also have a scholarship run by Brewgooder, which is a great brewery over in Glasgow. And they are sponsoring students from Black, Asian or minority ethnic backgrounds to study our undergraduate program. So if you're interested in these scholarships, you can get in touch with us as well and we can tell you more detail how you could apply for them. To finish up then, I'm going to tell you what you could expect if you come to study with us next September. So in September 2021, that would mean that you would have induction in your first week here. You would also enroll and we have Freshers Week. In that week, your personal tutor will be assigned and you'll get to meet a lot of the brewing and distilling staff. In week 1 then, your teaching will start and after that you would have a fantastic future in brewing and distilling. After watching this presentation then, if you have any more questions, you can just contact me, j.white@hw.ac.uk. As I mentioned previously, if you're interested in our master's program, you can contact Calum Holmes, that's c.holmes@hw.ac.uk. If you have any questions about how to get onto the course or what would be required, you can contact Study With Us at hw.ac.uk and they, I'm sure, will get back to you and tell you what would be required. Thank you for watching this video. Any more questions, as I said, please get back to me and I'll be happy to reply to you.